You see that guy standing by the blackboard acting like he knows what he's doing? Yup, that was me back in March of 2025. With over 2,000 hours of classroom time and delivering half-assed lessons, I finally decided to call it quits, give my farewell speech in my best and most questionable Japanese, and say goodbye to my teaching English in Japan experience. Now, I had a lot of fun moments and unforgettable times, and this experience absolutely changed me. And I know there's a lot of information out there about teaching English in Japan, so you're going to want to stick around if you want to find out if teaching in Japan is still worth it in 2025. It sucks, or at least that's what most people would say. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So for those of you who don't know, I moved to Japan in 2019 to work as an ALT, or Assistant Language Teacher. Big emphasis on the word assistant, for a company called Interact. So what they do is they place you in public schools all over Japan. I was placed in the beautiful port city of Yokohama, which is great if you like the urban life or being close to Tokyo. And after 6 years of not only my own experience, but other English teachers that I've met along the way, I can share with you all of these stories and maybe help you decide if that's what you want to do. Some people I've met have either loved the job, hated the job, straight up quit after a week, or just passively sit in the back seat and let 6 years pass by. Now, as for the job itself, you don't get to choose where you live. So you put in your top 3 preferences for the 3 different regions in Japan. I put in Kansai as my top region, which is Western Japan, like Osaka and Kyoto. And I got my second choice, which was Kanto. I mostly taught junior high school students, which are from 12-year-olds to 15-year-olds. And although my situation was mostly good, you could end up with a really bad situation in a really bad school, a city in the middle of nowhere, which is hit or miss for some. Some people love the countryside, and some people absolutely hate it. Or even in the city, you could end up with a really crappy school with crappy teachers who are just angry all the time, and everyone's just like stressed out, and you're just the new foreigner. You're there like looking forward to your new life in Japan. You know, there's all this stress going on in the school. They don't really care about you, that you just arrived in Japan. They're like, okay, cool, we got work to do, blah, blah, blah. You can't really do much of what they're doing. You know, you're just there to assist in the English class. You're new in Japan, you don't really speak Japanese, and even if you do speak Japanese or have a teacher's license, that doesn't really matter here. You're just the ALT, the unlicensed foreign English teacher who's here to entertain. Keyword on the word entertain. I'll get into that later. But honestly, it could be a great experience. Does it really suck? A lot of people online are always saying negative things about the salary or management. I'm about to share my own experience, so just treat it as a glorified Amazon review, and you can just make your own decision after that. Finally out of the heat. You know, I still feel a little weird recording outside. I almost feel like I'm talking to myself. I got this fluffy egg sandwich. You can't beat Lawson's food. You know, a while ago I did the 7 days at 7-Eleven. So I'm thinking of another challenge. Honestly, I haven't really sat down and compared the two, but I think Lawson's probably got better food. So back to today's topic. Although my role mainly involved teaching English, I never really felt like a teacher much. I was mainly entertaining and assisting the main Japanese teacher of English. A lot of times this had its pros and cons. One of the good things about it was that I would walk in the classrooms and feeling like a total rock star, because the kids would just be like clapping and get all hyped, like, what? It's Chesko Sensei time? Oh, they canceled science class, they canceled PE, they canceled, well, not PE, no one's excited about canceling PE, but they canceled math, science, whatever they canceled for my class was like, you know, the turn of the century for them. So that's like one of the good sides to being an ALT, I would say. There's also a downside to everything, obviously. One of them being that I never felt like I got as much respect as the local teachers got. You know, us ALTs, we're not even licensed teachers, first of all. Even if you have a teaching license back in your home country, that doesn't really matter in Japan. You know, you gotta get a teaching license here, and then for that you gotta know Japanese. First of all, you gotta be fluent in Japanese to get a teaching license, and you gotta be sponsored by some kind of program. It's pretty rare, but some foreigners can do it. So the local Japanese teachers themselves and the students don't really show as much respect. So even if you're trying to get all angry and acting like you want to discipline them, that's not gonna work, really. You know, in some rare cases, it might scare the kids a little if you get angry, but one of the first things they teach you when you become an ALT is you're not allowed to discipline the kids. Just keep that in mind. I remember one time this one student, she told me She straight up told me in my face she hates English and she doesn't need it. And I'm like, well, what am I gonna say? Good for you, your loss. I wasn't really allowed to say anything. And also, I had to take it with a grain of salt because I was teaching teenagers. You know, I was teaching kids that are going through puberty, mood swings, whatever they're going through, their first boyfriend, first rejection. So I had to take everything with a grain of salt. You know, most people in Japan don't tell you what they feel straight to your face. That one student who told me she doesn't need English, one time she was distracting the whole class just on purpose, getting them to giggle, doodling in her textbook or whatever, doing whatever she can to, you know, drive attention away from my lecture and lesson. I did have some challenging days like that, but for the most part, most kids were great. You know, in Japan, they're not very shy when it comes to giving presents. So I received lots of presents when it was Christmas time, or if they found out it was my birthday. They were super sweet with their gestures. Whew. All right, well, finally out of that scorching heat, back home. So, back to today's topic. A lot of foreigners move to Japan with one goal in mind, and that is to live in Japan. A lot of them use teaching English as a stepping stone, myself included. You know, it's not everyone's dream to be an English teacher here, or an educator for that matter. And that's not to disrespect people who are passionate about educating, because I respect those who are. In fact, just working these past 5 years as an English teacher, I really came to respect those who seem passionate about educating, especially the Japanese teachers I worked so closely with. There was one who would draw in a manga every day about things that happened in and out of the classroom, and myself and the students always look forward to his new entries. I occasionally had a few cameos, and that was awesome. But I could see that he had a passion for teaching, and he wasn't just doing it for a paycheck. Some were, and some weren't, you know, Japanese or non-Japanese alike. You know, you'll have all kinds of people wherever you go. So my point being that a lot of us use teaching English as a stepping stone to fulfill our dreams of living and doing something else that we love in Japan, whether that be voice acting, translating, dancing, whatever you came here to Japan to do, vlogging. You know, we use it as a stepping stone, and that's a given. We want to live in Japan. Japan is a charming country for multiple reasons to a lot of us. Okay, I'll be right back because this Neko-chan needs attention. All right, we good now? So as I was saying, it's the passionate educators that make the students want to come and learn every single day. Even the ALTs may not be real licensed educators, but we are the ones who make the students enjoy, and sometimes we leave an impact, you know, even though we're not fully licensed teachers. To give you a brief example of how much of an impact you can make teaching at a school here, just being an ALT, look at this card I got from one of my students. Look at that. It says, "Dear Chesko," and you know, there's a lot of pictures. You know, look at that. Wrote me a whole message here. You see what I mean? I got that, and I got multiple letters here. I got this one from a previous school that I had before. A lot of "Dear Chesko." Lots of letters here, lots of letters. You know, a lot of thank you letters. And this is very common here in Japan. Even if you weren't the hardest working ALT, you are going to get a whole bunch of letters like this. A whole bunch of "Thank you for teaching me English. Thank you for always making the class fun. Thank you for this. Thank you for that." You're going to have an awesome time, you know. So don't listen to the bad comments that you see on Reddit or Instagram or whatever social media platform you're looking at. Don't let that discourage you, but don't stay in that limbo forever either, because that's what I did. And you might have a totally different journey than I did, but you're gonna have a great time, and I think I'm repeating myself by now. Either way, if you like this video and you found it useful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I know that sounds like a broken record, but I am trying to bring you some helpful information, useful information, because I think the experience I had in Japan was very valuable. You know, I have so many stories to tell you here that I can't fit in this short video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stick around for more chaos and Japan content. Or for this little bureaucratic cat here. Stick around for him at least. Subscribe. Use your cuteness. Use your cuteness and make them subscribe. Make them subscribe. No?